Oh, hello. I didn't see you there. Welcome to my YouTube channel. How's that for an intro? um, hello, actually. I want to talk about one thing today. Just one thing. Make it simple and efficient. Two things, okay? I'm going to do a preface before my one thing. The preface is I just took a nap, and naps are awesome. And I think that you should take naps. And if you have a life where you don't have the opportunity to take naps, change your life. Rearrange it. Quit that job. Have a new career that is nap friendly, or insist that your current career learn to make time for naps. It's possible. Naps are cool. Second thing, the real thing I want to talk about is that in this world of crazy polarization that we're all pretty much aware of at this point, between the left and the right, between the liberal and the conservative, one fear that I have is that I'm always one conversation away, potentially, from losing or damaging a friendship. So I have many, many, many friends that I disagree with, which are actually, I only have friends that I disagree with because there's very few people that share my beliefs. In fact, I know only me. Like, there's no one else that has exactly the particular beliefs that I have. I mean, there might be. I just haven't met them. And if I do know them, it's because my beliefs have influenced them, and then they share my beliefs because they've taken them from me. The the reality though is that there's plenty of people that I love who have very different ideas about the way the world works, about what's right and wrong, about what good solutions are to our problems, about what is real even. There's people who have very different beliefs about the nature of reality and morality and on and on and on, you name it. Even within people who believe the same basic things as I do, there's vastly different interpretations of, we might agree on the facts, but we might interpret them totally differently. So it's kind of unfortunate because when we're sort of constantly putting each other into these two groups, oh, he's conservative, he's liberal, he's this, she's that, we're doing ourselves a disservice, right? We need to like figure out a way to be okay with being friendly with people who have beliefs that we disagree with. You know, I think that that would be a huge advantage to all of us right now. One of the best ways of doing this is to be able to steel man someone else's position. So if you don't agree with somebody, go through the exercise of thinking what is a real, like, what are the best arguments for their position, and not with the instinct of to prove them wrong, but to actually try to get into the mindset of how is this other person's conflicting position with my own? How are they correct? What is the value that this person gets out of holding that belief or holding that position? And then also to interrogate yourself, like, why do I feel so strongly about whatever it is, what I feel strongly about? Now, even if you don't want to do that work, even if that's not interesting to you, or you're like, who cares? I don't have the time for that. I'll just hang out with somebody else who's more similar to me. Even if that's your attitude, what I would also say is that you don't need to even go through the process of understanding someone else's position. You could even just say, I'm not going to let this one thing, this like intellectual, whatever, abstraction, be in the way of what I feel on a core level about this person. So like, this might, for me, might look like having friends that are really strong in their faith, whether it's Christianity or Islam or, you know, Sikhism or whatever. Like, I don't believe any of those things to be truth in a kind of capital T objective sense, but I am fully capable of understanding the value that people derive from them. And I can do that without denigrating it and without having to look down my nose at it. And I can say the same thing for, on the other side, like on the more liberal side of things at the moment. It's like quote unquote liberal, left leaning. I don't even think of it as liberal anymore. But where the left is gone now, it also has a lot of qualities like very similar to religion, very similar to a set of beliefs that aren't necessarily really tied to reality in a demonstrable way. So it's hard to have honest conversations with a lot of people because I run the risk of saying something that's going to alienate them or saying something that's going to trigger their kind of spidey sense about, oh, this guy is not on my team. He's not one of us, his values don't align with my values. And I think, what a strange world that we're creating for ourselves where everyone has to have carbon copies of each other's values stored in their memory as these maxims that they can recite and sort of rally around. What a strange and kind of impoverished sense of what's real does that create for us? Coffee break. Because I think for me, the real thing is that we're not going to sway everyone. We're not going to convince everyone that their beliefs are wrong or that ours are right. And we're also not going to annihilate them. We're not going to exterminate them, right? So what's left? What appears to be left is to have space for them, to have tolerance and to have, instead of worrying about what people believe, we should worry about where are we heading and what are we doing and how are we going to get there? It's like keep your eyes on the prize, not on the chaos of language and the chaos of trying to build a cohesive mental map of the world that is correct in all situations. It is a fool's errand. It is totally impossible to do it. And only fools are stuck on it. As George Carlin once said, I leave symbols to the symbol-minded. So shunning this idea that there's one correct view of things and there's one correct stance on all important matters, and that everyone who's a critical thinker is going to have that same perspective. Just let that shit go. And instead just think about, what are you creating? How are you making people feel? What, impact are you having on yourself and on the people directly in your community? That's infinitely more important than being right. And that's another thing that I continuously try to remind myself of, is that one of the really marks of a true sage and a true somebody who is kind of advanced along the path of thinking and understanding psychology is to be able to be wrong, to be able to say, I am wrong, and to be able to allow other people to be wrong. It's like, love people even though they're wrong, allow them to be wrong. It's something I really struggle with still, actually, because I think the more work you've done on yourself and the more analytical sort of dissection of things that you've done and the more you've been through and experienced, it can be really hard to look at other people who haven't had perhaps the same wealth of experience that you've had, and to see, you might have a sense of you see exactly what they're going through on a level that they don't see themselves. And it can be hard to, I think when I was younger, it could be hard to not try to intervene in some way, not try to give them some insights or something like that. Now I'm much, much more comfortable with just being quiet. I think that is like, as you get more advanced in life, in experience, you are content to just allow people to be where they are, to just let things be, and to not feel threatened by different beliefs, and to not to be able to look at relationships with more nuance, and to not throw out all of the good things from a relationship because of some of the bad things. Because the reality is that none of us are perfect, and none of us have a full understanding. We all have cognitive biases. We all have blind spots. We all have, we're all subject to the same logical fallacies, and we all like fuck up. We really all fuck up. It's not, none of us are saints. None of us can even live up to our own standards if we're actually honest with ourselves. So it's like, my hope in making this video actually is to say like that if any of my friends are watching this, and it's like I kind of want to just have this out in the open, that I have a fear of losing friendships and damaging connections simply by being honest and simply by being myself. And what that leads me to do often is to not reach out, to not make contact, to like say no to things because I feel uncomfortable and not able to really fully express myself for fear of being shunned or judged or ostracized for doing so. And so it's like, I guess I'm trying to get this off my chest a lot just for myself to be able to say, I need to get out there and be myself and say what I believe. And sometimes to hold back when it's the most coherent thing to do. But there's a real risk in holding back, because holding back speaking the truth when it's a deeply felt truth and it's part of who you actually are, what you're doing is you're kind of creating a sort of fracture in your own psyche, that you're trying to be one thing to the world when inwardly you're feeling something else. And this is the cause of a lot of neuroses and a lot of mental illness, in my opinion, in my belief. And you're also doing the other person a disservice, because you can only be intimate with somebody to the extent that they can see you and that they can feel you and that they can know you for who you are. So I think what I'm feeling as the bottom line for me here is that I need to take more risks, but I want to do them, try to learn how to engage in ways that don't devolve into debate and instead can evolve into deeper connection and deeper understanding. And I think it's a process. There's not a right way to do it. It's just like it has a lot to do with intention and a lot to do with treading softly and having care and understanding that human beings are not computers. We're not machines. We need to sometimes hear an idea in a very small way and then let it sink in, and then let time pass, and then hear something else, and learn that even if we disagree with somebody and their ideas, it doesn't mean that they're necessarily a bad person, or they're a toxic person, or they're a threat to your own personal abundance. The problem is that this is a big asterisk here, is that a lot of people are creating personal advantage through lies in our present world. And I guess that's always been the case, but it's definitely the case now, that there's a lot of I don't even want to use the word misinformation because I think it's a loaded term. There's a lot to the dominant narrative right now that is cynical, It is there's like a cynical and usurious side to it, and it benefits most people. So like a majority of people are benefited by some aspect of this narrative. So it's actually very difficult to tease that out because of the self-interest, you know. We're all biased towards what's good for us. So it takes pretty brave people who might potentially benefit from something that is false, that is also popular, and that also gives them security to come forward and call a spade a spade. So anyway, I guess there's a lot there, but if you're also feeling this way where you end up censoring yourself or not saying what you really feel because you're afraid of losing friendships or damaging connections or hurting your reputation, you know, it's up to you and it's up to me to turn the tide of this thing by opening up and by speaking our minds, and to do so in a way that is non-combative and that is just, you know, moving forward with the force of truth. Truth has more force than falsity. It just does, you know. So you can stand tall and rest assured, if you're speaking truth, eventually it's going to work out for you. And that doesn't mean that you, like, I am fully aware that sometimes speaking the truth creates massive problems. It for sure does. It can be really harmful. Like, and what I'm saying is, so I'm not saying that it comes for free. What I'm saying is that it's going to work out over the long run. The truth is what stands the test of time. All of the lies are always exposed over time. You know, it may take a long time, but you know, there is something deeply like, I am deeply called towards trying to move towards truth in all of the things that I do. And it's like the prime directive, really. It's like the most important thing to me. I don't know exactly why. There's probably a long story there, you know. But I'm convicted. I am deeply convicted about it. So anyway, so if you're one of my friends, just know that there's probably a lot of things that we disagree on, and that I hope that you're a big enough person to feel okay about that, you know, and to be able to not let any single or any 100 conversations that result in us finding out that we don't necessarily agree on everything to ruin a friendship or to ruin a connection. Because agreeing on abstract concepts is one of the least important things, to be honest, actually. What's important is like how we make each other feel and how we live in community together, and how we're treating the other people around us, and if we're trying to do our best or trying to you know, live in a way that is most fully ourselves. That's like more how I think about it, is like trying to express myself fully. Anyway, rattling on and on. Thank you. 20 minutes. Have a great day. Bye.